Aren't you forgetting about the main course? We have the world's strongest slime, remember?
Oh, we do?
Diablo's onslaught began. Feldway's art was deflected by Diablo's claw scissors. They were clearly on a different level, but the fact that they didn't take that into account was terrifying. Feldway, who had been overwhelming them until now, was being one-sidedly pushed back. It was impossible not to be dumbfounded, and finally, the time to settle things had come. End of World Requiem. Diablo's full-power attack had caused Feldway to fall to the ground. It was wonderful, but an unbelievable.
Know that Diablo almost lost his life during his battle with Feldway. Diablo was actually overpowered since Feldway was fighting in his true form, which surpassed even the true dragons. With the perfect body given by Veldanava and his Genesis-class weapon, the strongest weapon in Tensura, created solely by Veldanava, Feldway was an overwhelming force. To fight on equal footing, Diablo resorted to using Void Collapse, the most dangerous energy capable of destroying the world. Thanks to his exceptional combat experience and mastery of techniques, he managed to battle Feldway evenly. However, excessive use of Void Collapse caused his body to start disintegrating, putting him on the verge of death. Fortunately, Rimuru arrived just in time to save him, giving Diablo a part of his own body disguised as a recovery potion. Rimuru tossed it to Diablo using teleport, ensuring Feldway couldn't interfere. Realizing the significance of this gift, Diablo was moved to tears, overwhelmed with gratitude, and declared he would treasure it as a family heirloom. Thanks to this regeneration, Diablo not only recovered but also mastered the Void, something no one else could control. With this newfound power, he was able to defeat Feldway. Who do you think would win in a fight between Diablo and Guy? The world is facing a never-before-seen crisis from the dreaming evil god and its army. Two powerhouses, oldest and strongest demon, G. Crimson, and eldest sister of the true dragons. Felzard, are locked in battle of unimaginable proportions that could change the fate of the world forever. Is already doing insane things. Like always. Velzard's in full rampage mode. Guy and Testarossa have to rely on nihility just to stop the whole battlefield from getting shredded. And even then, it's barely enough. And then Rimuru walks in, expands his dragon hockey, mixes it with nihility, and in one instant, shuts down Velzard's hockey and Guy plus Testa's nihility like it's nothing. Guy is straight up pissed and confused. He literally can't even perceive Rimuru's existence properly. And Rimuru? He slips into slime form, wraps around a rampaging Velzard, and just stops her rampage. No wonder Guy's inner monologue was basically, who the hell is this guy? Well, he's just a slime.
Reveals himself as still alive, calmly mocking Luminous, and explained that backing up his core and memories was something he planned from the start, refusing to allow his own creation to ever truly surpass him. Though disgusted, Luminous realizes immediately how dangerous the divine ancestor truly is, and begins calculating her options as Twilight casually announces that he has recovered and grown stronger, manifesting the origin blood sphere once wielded by Jahil. She realizes it instantly. Twilight had long synced his memories with the origin blood, letting him possess Jahil at any time, and even after being reduced to pure information and embedded in Velzard as an authority, he left a fail-safe behind. Though he lost true immortality, his ultimate skill, Rimuru, remains, and his power now rivals a pseudo-dragon. With questions racing her mind about his intentions, Luminous attacks without hesitation, unleashing Hinata's melt/Rimuru, mastered overlay, only for Twilight to casually block it and chastise her like a
Time is lost. She's fooled the mightiest of men. Nations crumble from within. All it takes is just one sin lips red as blood. She'll take your money and show them all her beauty is. You don't know you can fall in love with less.
Ancestor originally existed as a single being known as Luminous Twilight Valentine, and in his obsession with achieving perfect immortality, he experimented on himself by removing his own personality, the core of his identity, and transplanting it into a test subject, who became Luminous. The body left behind, stripped of its personality, became Twilight, retaining the original body, authority, and power, but losing the true self, while Luminous inherited the will, personality, and presence of the divine ancestor, though both lost their memories. When Twilight later tried to kill Luminous using Origin Blood, it backfired. Luminous absorbed the weapon, which contained the divine ancestor's lost memories, restoring them to her. At that moment, the divine ancestor was fully reborn as Luminous Twilight Valentine. With her identity complete, she could freely change her appearance, whether as the female Luminous or the male Twilight. Although the divine ancestor originally had no fixed gender, Luminous found that notion unsettling.
Time is lost. She's fooled the mightiest of men. Nations crumble from within. All it takes is just one sin lips red as blood. She'll take your money and show them all her beauty is. You don't know you can.
Fled back to Heavenly Star. His body aches after being turned to dust by Diablo, but he feels relieved now that he has come this far. There are still no signs of recovery, but he should be able to heal with time. The point is, he just needs to buy time. Feldway walked along the ruined path, heading towards the throne. However, there was an unexpected customer there. Hey, you've been beaten pretty badly. Sitting lazily on the throne was Dino, who was supposed to be conquering Ramirez's labyrinth. My wife has come back to life. My daughter will come soon too. The family will be together.
I've been asleep long enough, my friend. It is time for you to wake up.
Vacant Veldanava has become the true final villain. It turns out he actually revived long ago, but chose to hide himself to slowly recover his power, with only Velzard aware of his return. This new Veldanava sees the world as a failed creation, and wants to erase everything and start over. This likely comes from the lingering memory of his and Lucia's death. True dragons may revive with their memories, but their personality resets. That's why even Feldway's entire plan wasn't just blind loyalty. It was all part of Veldanava's true will. And on top of that, Veldanava has also teamed up with Everedge, who has taken on the form of his wife, Lucia.
But no longer had any interest in the world. It had taken his beloved wife, Lucia, from him, and that alone was a sin beyond comprehension to the god of creation. If you're doing all of this because of Lucia, wouldn't it make more sense to just reincarnate her yourself, Rimuru? The only threat to him asked. But Veldanava explained that it was impossible. Lucia's soul had already reincarnated into countless fragments across different worlds. Because of that, Veldanava found only one way to bring her back, by destroying all worlds themselves. Only then could he reincarnate Lucia into a new and better world in their place. He would destroy everything that he created. After all, that was his right. Thrust his sword sharply, and at the moment Rimuru blocked it. Rimuru was engulfed by a gentle sensation. His consciousness faded, and he collapsed into a slime as Veldanava took Rimuru's soul into his hand, shining faintly in the suspended world. Holding Rimuru's soul, Veldanava frowned. I'm surprised. It seems this Rimuru guy also possesses a fragment of Lucia. My wife has come back to life. My daughter will come soon too. The family will be together. That moment, Veldanava stretched forth his hand and tore Rimuru's soul from his body. The world froze. Time itself refused to move. Satisfied, the creator turned his back, already preparing to leave. For what threat could remain once the soul was gone? Then a voice echoed behind him. You think removing my soul is enough to kill me? Silence followed. Power surged where nothing should have existed. A will remained, unbound by flesh, unbound by law. I was a monster before I had a body, the voice continued. I ruled before I had a throne. The soul did not fade. It multiplied. You created life to obey the rules, Rimuru said. I exist beyond them. Veldanava stopped. For the first time since creation, a god hesitated. If a soul were enough to define me, the voice whispered, then I would never have reached this far. I've been asleep long enough, my friend. It is time for you to wake up. Rimuru, whose soul had just been stolen, suddenly woke up. After a short pause, I woke up. It felt like a daydream. Rimuru was holding me, supporting me without even realizing it. Then Veldanava looked at me and said, how is it that you are safe even though I took your soul? Even he was surprised. I looked down and realized I had turned into a slime again. But this time, Ciel wasn't inside me. This is bad. This is the worst crisis since I reincarnated. Most of my abilities were managed by Ciel. If Ciel is gone, I can't use them anymore. For the first time, I felt truly alone. Then I realized it. I was still connected to Veldora through the soul corridor. We had backup inside each other. Veldanava's attack was a multi-dimensional continuous attack, capable of sealing off escape. My soul was stolen, but at the last moment, only my core heart, my ego, was expelled into Veldora. That's how I survived. There was nothing I could do in that state, but I remembered something. Pseudo-soul. I had to try. With Veldora's help, I placed a pseudo-soul into my empty slime body. While projecting my consciousness onto it, I revived myself. And now, I was back. Ciel was gone, but True Dragon Liberation remained active, so I could still use the combat abilities she prepared for me. I took a breath and faced forward.
During his fight against Veldora and Belgard, Rimuru decided to give Raphael a proper name since all he'd done until this point was call her partner or Wisdom King Raphael. This confused Raphael, who was until then burdened with anxiety and a loss of confidence due to constantly messing up in this fight against these two monsters, making her believe Rimuru might not need her anymore. He told her to believe in herself and named her Ciel for short, giving her a feeling of eternal bliss, which normally a skill could never feel, evolving her into Mana Ciel, who is the unifier of
Looks like Veldanava was surprised too. Good, good. If I can even surprise the Creator God, then that's a big win for me. However, there was no doubt that this was a troubling situation. This is the biggest crisis situation we have ever faced. The reason is that Ciel isn't inside me right now. No, seriously. I was confused and didn't notice her speaking to me. But then she disappeared. I thought, what? And asked a question, but there was no reply as usual. I'm seriously in trouble. Or rather, I want to cry.
This was the first time since I was reincarnated that I had felt so lonely. It was only natural that I would feel anxious. To begin with, most of my powers were properly managed by Ciel. Now that Ciel is gone, it means that I can no longer use them. Facing Veldanava, an enemy on a scale I had never faced before, I was now completely powerless. It was impossible not to
Narrowing his eyes slightly, he declared, "Well then, let's get right to it. Shall we test how far you can follow the divine providence decreed by the gods?" Those words served as the signal. What began was a sword dance between me and Veldanava. Our swords formed a severing space that sliced through anything it touched. No one was optimistic that Luminous would resurrect them if they died. Everyone kept their distance from us, protecting themselves. That was fine, I thought. If an ordinary person, even if everyone present was hero class, got caught in this, there seemed to be no outcome other than instant death. In this deadly space for just the two of us, with no room for others to intervene, I poured all my resolve into the fatal sword that would likely cleave through even each other's barriers in a single strike. I clashed blades with Veldanava.
Sharply and asked, "Why are you on par with me?" I answered without hesitation, "Because I'm strong. Yes, I am strong. That's what Ciel always told me. If I didn't act like it, I'd disgrace everything she entrusted to me. Truth is, I was terrified. But even pretending to be confident made my fear lighter." Sensing this, Veldanava frowned slightly. "It's truly amazing. A tiny being that never existed in the past can now rival me." I smirked. "You're praising me, right?" But there was no time to relax. This was the strongest enemy I had ever faced. I focused everything I had, gathering all my will, all my determination. No tricks, no feints, just a direct strike. I unleashed it. Hope, Elpis, a pure, straightforward attack. Simple, but containing all of my resolve. Veldanava blocked it with his own power. For the first time, our clash was even. Shock waves tore through space. Light and darkness spiraled around us. And in that instant, I felt it clearly. I can fight him. I won't lose here. My fear disappeared. I finally understood what I had to do. I tightened my stance, eyes locked onto Veldanava. This time, I'm going to...
In a cloud where sunrise and my
During his fight against Veldor and Belgard, Rimuru decided to give Raphael a proper name since all he'd done until this point was call her partner or Wisdom King Raphael. This confused Raphael, who was until then burdened with anxiety and a loss of confidence due to constantly messing up in this fight against these two monsters, making her believe Rimuru might not need her anymore. He told her to believe in herself and named her Ciel for short, giving her a feeling of eternal bliss, which normally a skill could never feel, evolving her into Mana Ciel, who is the unifier of
Feldway looks like a pure villain, but his story is really about a guardian who breaks under loneliness and grief. Feldway begins as the first of Veldanava's 7 angels of origin, created to guard humanity and defeat threats like the mindless dragon Ivarage. Isolated in the otherworld and soaked in Ivarage's magicules, he and his followers change into phantoms, while cryptids and insectars grow around them. Feldway watches Veldanava favor humans, then disappear, and convinces himself that all of creation caused God to abandon them. His idea of justice twists into a plan of omnicide and revival, carried out with Michael and the Angel Army in the Heavenly War against Rimuru's world. Later, after Michael's death and Veldanava's shocking return, Feldway finally realizes he only wanted his master to stop him, not cheer him on, and turns against Veldanava to protect the world he tried to erase. Now here's a question. When Veldanava finally returns in Volume 23, who does Feldway choose?
Veldanava was dragged into the sea of thoughts, where 2 voices echoed. Startled, he muttered, "Could it be Lucia?" A calm voice answered, "No, that's not true. I am Ciel, the Manas, the Wisdom Core, who exists for the supreme Rimuru Sama." Ciel continued, "Master is all-powerful, but with me around, he couldn't fully accept his own achievements. Therefore, I used you." Behind Ciel, Veldanava sensed a presence he knew well. "Are you really Lucia?" A gentle voice replied, "Yes." Ciel gathered the fragments of my soul and restored me. Then Ciel explained everything. Ciel combined the many elements that had gathered around Rimuru, as well as the Lucia factors that Veldanava had collected, and succeeded in recreating Lucia. Shizue Izawa, Hinata Sakaguchi, Chloe Obel, and several others had fragments of Lucia's genes scattered throughout them. They had all been collected through Rimuru and then integrated by Ciel. It's finally finished. There are still some missing elements, so it's not perfect, but the match rate is over 99%. And Thus, Lucia's soul separated from Rimuru's, appearing before Veldanava.
Creation god is really one lonely will that split into Veldanava, and a world-destroying monster. Before anything in Tensura, there was only one will, often called the all-in-one god. It was perfect, all-powerful, and alone. To escape that boredom, this will gave up its full power to create worlds and living beings. The creator side became Veldanava, the Star King Dragon, who formed the laws of the world and loved his creations. The cast-off part became Everage, a world-destroying dragon that Veldanava had sealed in another world. Later volumes hint Everage once existed as a perfect, all-one, lost half of herself, and now wants to erase Veldanava's worlds to fill that hole. Fans link this to a one-god idea, one original god split into gentle creator and hateful shadow.
The dragon of destruction begins absorbing everything, not eating but reverting things back into their original state. Veldanava understands he cannot escape. This is his punishment, the final consequence of all the mistakes he made. His loneliness, his selfishness, and the chaos he spread across the worlds. But then Lucia appears beside him. Hand in hand, they accept their fate together, as Ivaraj slowly pulls them in. Lucia comforts him. Veldanava's heart softens. He feels peace for the first time. It's okay. Because there is hope for us too. Hope. Elpis. It's a name I've only recently heard. A cheeky slime stood in front of me. The name is... Veldanava suddenly remembered something. A conversation I once had with Lucia. What should we name this baby? When asked this question, Veldanava answered with a happy feeling. That's right, wouldn't Milim be good? Or, why had I forgotten? That was before Milim was born. Veldanava had certainly spoken another name. Now that I remember that, I'm convinced that it was all inevitable. I see. Surpassing his parents had been achieved. As he was about to be assimilated by Ivaraj, Veldanava felt enveloped in happiness once again.
Creation god is really one lonely will that split into Veldanava, and a world-destroying monster. Before anything in Tensura, there was only one will, often called the all-in-one god. It was perfect, all-powerful, and alone. To escape that boredom, this will gave up its full power to create worlds and living beings. The creator side became Veldanava, the Star King Dragon, who formed the laws of the world and loved his creations. The cast-off part became Everage, a world-destroying dragon that Veldanava had sealed in another world. Later volumes hint Everage once existed as a perfect, all-one, lost half of herself, and now wants to erase Veldanava's worlds to fill that hole. Fans link this to a one-god idea, one original god split into gentle creator and hateful shadow.
Quiet stillness before the world had shaken. Veldanava, the Star King Dragon, gazed upon the fragile life cradled in his arms. A soul born not from flesh, but from pure possibility. A tiny spark that shimmered brighter than any star he had ever woven into existence. In that moment, even the creator of worlds felt something he had never known. Hope. He lifted the newborn, letting the radiance of creation wash gently across the small, formless body. "You will be the light that guides the ages," he whispered, a rare warmth softening the voice of a god. And with that conviction, he bestowed a name meant to carry destiny, rebirth, and endless potential. Elpis, the embodiment of hope itself. Long before he would rise as Rimuru Tempest, before nations and legends, he was simply Elpis. Of the creator was scattered, reborn far from divine eyes, hidden within fate's blind spot. With a human's death, a slime is born. The world shakes. That soul resurfaced as Rimuru Tempest, a seemingly harmless existence that evolved with every challenge, every victory, every kill, until the sealed divinity inside him began to awaken. This was never chance. This was the rise of Veldanava's heir, a god reborn in the body of a monster. With the final impact shot, Rimuru is crowned in the celestial flame of creation. The world does not face a demon lord, but the true dragon of the creator god himself. A divine calamity destined to rewrite existence. Opponent for Rimuru is not Veldanava alone, but a fused entity after Ivaraj devours Veldanava and Lucia's souls, thus beings. This makes Ivaraj the ultimate antagonist of the volume and the main story's conclusion. Rimuru ultimately defeats this combined, highly malicious entity. In a move characteristic of his character and powers, he consumes the defeated Ivaraj Veldanava fusion. This act absorbs their power and brings the final conflict to an end. Rimuru, now recognized as a successor to Veldanava and an immortal god, is ultimately successful in saving the day.
I see. So, let me tell you about it. About that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
死んでいる。